Hello and welcome to the Punting Green. This is your PGA Championship preview. We're brought to you by oddschecker and PricedUp. I'm your host, George Elek, and delighted to be joined by two oddschecker tipsters for the golf, Ginger Joe, and for the first time on the Punting Green, Niall Lyons. Niall, it's been a while. How are you getting on?
Yeah, not too bad. We've had a couple of winners this year to keep us ticking along. Thankfully, we're in the profit, so can't complain to date. Another major winner would be good.
And you are someone who, like myself, has a soft spot doesn't quite do it justice for Rory McIlroy. Did you enjoy those 4 days at Augusta a month or so ago?
Absolutely loved it, George. I tipped up Justin Rose at 100 to 1, but I couldn't, for the life of me, cheer him on. Even in the playoff. Now, I had a few bets on Rory for the last couple of months leading up to the Masters, so either way, I wasn't too concerned. But yeah, it would have been great for the figures to get Rose over the line, but I definitely couldn't cheer it on. And in the end,
I
I was absolutely on my knees trying to
I
get Rory over the line.
I backed Rose. You mean you know we discussed Rose over WhatsApp prior to your column coming out, and I was like you, where I was cheering Rory, but there was a moment when I woke up on Monday morning and I was like, you know what, actually,
It
could have
would have
could
been
have
nice,
could
yeah.
have done with that. Joe, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good. Absolutely fine, my end, George. Like now, I had a few winners this year, so we're in the profit, which is obviously the main focus. I wasn't one cheering on Rory though in the Masters, was I? I was quite
No.
happy to put my neck on the line and say he wasn't going to get the job done, and it made me look rather silly, didn't he? Let's put it that way. But we had four places from the squad, so it was still a profitable week. And look, hopefully we can take that into major number two and find some more winners this week. Get ourselves back in the winners enclosure.
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't got a priced up account already, make sure you check them out. Competitive prices across the board for the USPGA and plenty more across all sports. Click on the Price Boost page at the top of the site and you can find loads of price boosts across different sports every single day. But let's get into it because it is the second major of the year. I think it's probably one of the most hotly anticipated USPGAs we've had in recent times because Rory comes here off the back of it winning the Masters, and he is a 5-1 joint favourite with world number one Scotty Scheffler, who was last seen posting -31 in his PGA Tour win a couple of weeks ago. So they make up the top of the market, both of them at 5-1. Bryson's 8-1, Justin Thomas 18-1, John Rahm 20-1, Xander Schauffele is 20-1, Colin Morikawa 22s, Ludvig Oberg 25-1, Joaquin Niemann 33-1, 35-1 bar those. But before we get into the fields and specifically into your guys' selections, let's talk about the course. I'll come to you first. What do you make of the challenge that Quail Hollow poses these players?
Yeah, well, we know plenty about it. It's been on the road since around 2010 for the Wells Fargo, so yeah, we've plenty to pour over. But for me, it's a typical major US course. When you think about it, it's going to be over 7,600 yards. Uh, Quite difficult in terms of scoring. In terms of the PGA average, it would be quite difficult. Very driver heavy golf course, but you really do need to hit your irons well around here. Over the last four editions of the Wells Fargo at Quail Hollow and the 2017 PGA, 29 players have made the top five in ties, and only six of those have been outside the top 20 in greens and regulation for the week. So you are going to really need to be accurate with your iron play, and they've got sub-air system under the greens, which means they can firm them up, and they're going to need to because it is absolutely hosing it down on the golf course here on Monday. No practice play is allowed, no spectators are allowed in today as well. So as we're recording on Monday night here, you know, the course is going to get so much softer, and it's going to, this was always a bomber's paradise even before this week. The rain today is only going to make that, even worse. So if you don't hit the ball 320 yards plus, you're going to have a hard task in your hand to get into this over the weekend.
Joe, is that kind of tally with your assessment of the challenge the course poses, or do you see it differently?
No, absolutely spot on. Yeah, I totally agree. And the thing with Quail Hollow as well is the course seems to be getting longer every edition we have for the Wells Fargo. And of course, obviously, I know we've got the USPJ this week, so it's only going to get longer as well. The weather certainly isn't helping the cause because you definitely need to be able to hit it long and straight. Not necessarily too concerned this week about shot shape. You just want plenty of accuracy and distance off the tee. And this is, like Niall said, this is a real ball striker's golf course as well. You've got long tree-lined par fours and par fives. Not too concerned about short game this week. It's what the players are going to be doing leading up to the green. So no shot shape requirements, but you definitely need to be long and straight here. It's quite a typical US Open, US PGA Championship style golf course, and it's not a course that's getting any easier. Quite significant to note, though, that Rory McIlroy did shoot a 62 in 2015 or 2017. Can't remember quite which year. So you can score well around here. But if you are going to shoot those sort of low scores, you are going to have to be one of the elite, I'd imagine.
And before we get into the selections, Joe, what do you make of the chances of the top two in the market? Because spoiler alert, neither of them feature in either of your staking plans.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reason they're not on the staking plan is simply a price basis. When you've got fields of 100 plus, 5 to 1 isn't necessarily for me. Rory McIlroy is the best backed player this week across on oddschecker. I mean, he's won 12 events at Quail Hollow. He obviously comes into this as well, having won the Wells Fargo. He won the Wells Fargo this year as well. Last year as well. Sorry, shall I say? Getting a bit tongue twisted by 5 shots. He didn't drive the ball very well last week. That would be a little bit of a concern for me. But at the same time, when you're as good as Rory McIlroy, you can generally just turn it on when it's required. And then look, Scotty Scheffler, for me, he is still the one to beat. Obviously, he comes in here after that 9 shot demolition last time out. Putted brilliantly as well. His putting improvements are probably going slightly under the radar. He is definitely becoming a much more consistent putter. And I suppose the difference for me between Rory and McIlroy is that Scheffler probably doesn't have to be at his complete best to win this, but Rory McIlroy does. So they're the two. That's the difference between the two. And I must admit, I think both of them are going to have a real big chance this week. About 5 to 1. They just aren't betting propositions for me at the same time.
Either of them come close to making your list, Niall?
No, not really. But I must say, I agree with Joe there, and I have to say, I think Scheffler should be strong jolly this week. I think no, I was keen on McIlroy's chances at the Masters, and although I wasn't going to select him for the staking plan that week, I was really keen on his chances, and I do think he should be a bigger price this week than what he was for the Masters, even with his course history here at Quail Hollow. I worry about what's happened since he obviously flew home to Northern Ireland here whenever he to meet his parents after the Masters, when he's been on talk shows and blah blah, and even his comments last week about being a little rusty worries me a little. I don't think he's had great preparation for the PGA, and I don't think it would be the way that he envisaged himself going here to Quail Hollow. Even a couple of months ago, when he obviously didn't know he was going to win the Masters, but he would have thought he'd had a big chance here, and he obviously still does. But I worry about his preparation. I don't think the Zurich is an ideal tune-up either. And yeah, his irons were a bit off last week too. So for me, he definitely should be bigger price than what he was for the Masters, despite his win there. And I do think Scheffler, given his win last time out, should be strong jolly. And if it was going to back either of the two, it would be Scheffler this week.
What would you say then, Noel? 7 to 2, 13 to 2, really? Scheffler, Rory?
Where I would kind of have it, yeah. I do think Scotty Scheffler is going to be really hard to beat this week. Backing these players in without markets isn't for me. It just doesn't get me excited. I just have to gamble on Scheffler not doing the business. I don't think it's just something I don't particularly like, backing a player to finish second, or do they have the same motivation to finish second if Scheffler's 4 or 5 shots clear? I don't know. So my bets will be including them, of course, but just got to hope for the best that he doesn't do the business. But I expect him to be right there. Green's in regulation machine after all, and that's a big part of the equation this week. So yeah, I would have him a couple of points shorter than McIlroy.
Absolutely. Right, let's get into the selections now then. And we've got 3 players for Joe, 5 for Niall. There is 1 player that features in both teams. So we'll kick off with him, Joe. And that is the man who was in the final pairing with Rory McIlroy in the Masters, but was let down on that Sunday, and maybe didn't actually play that well across the weekend. But you see what Bryson DeChambeau has done since over at Live, and it feels like he's got to be right up there in terms of the favourites. He's 8 to 1 with PricedUp for this, and he's a player that you've got in your staking plan.
Yeah. Look, I would imagine outside of Rory and Scheffler this week that Bryson would be the most obvious pick. I imagine we'd see him well tipped across the board. And rightly so, he's got a very adaptable golf game. You know, he's won at long courses, short courses. It doesn't really matter. And we do generally pinpoint Bryson as a bomber, but he is also really consistent with it too. If you go and watch his golf on the Live Tour this year, he's averaging at 330 plus yards whilst hitting 65% of fairways in regulation. That's just an obscene number. It's not a surprise to see that he's a two-time US Open winner. Good driver, but he also really controls his irons well. That really impressed me at the Masters was his distance control. And if you get your distance control right, you're never going to be too far away. It's all about finding the flat spots, as we mentioned at the Masters. Well, it's not going to be too dissimilar here. I think if he drives the ball well, he has every right to be up there with Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler as one of the likeliest winners this week. He's won 9 times on the PGA Tour. He won 3 times on the European Tour. He won 3 times on the Live Tour. He just comes here as well off the back of a win at Live Golf Korea. Supremely talented. I think he's got an underrated short game, an underrated mid game as well. He can hit left to right, right to left. He can generally do it all. Now, obviously, at one point, Bryson was known as, a YouTube golfer, if you like, but he's much, much more than that. He's one of the most talented golfers on the planet. Yes, 8-1 might feel a little bit short, but I've tried not to let that dictate my selections too much. I think he has to be in your squad with whoever else you're backing this week.
8-1. That's the case Joe makes, and you agree, Niall?
Yeah, similar thoughts. Especially with his short game, he's putting really well these days too. He's becoming more of a clutch putter. You can forget even the 4 or 5 footer that he made to win at Pinehurst. Yeah, everything's going for him, and I think he's almost turned into the modern day Brooks Koepka, where you can expect him to turn up in almost every single major. 5th and 6th in the last 2 Masters. On a course that isn't perfect for him, especially the way he plays chip shots around the greens, 4th at Oak Hill and 2nd in Valhalla as well these last couple of years. Yeah, everything's going for him on kind of double the price more or less of the 2 favourites. Yeah, he's the pick of the bunch for me, and slightly worried about getting involved, around single figure prices now, but. For me, as Joe says, he just has to be in the staking plan this week, and everything's going for him, and you could really see him win another long major US golf course.
Next on your list, Niall, is the defending champion from last year, Xander, who is 20-1 with PricedUp. What is it about Xander's chances that you like this week?
Yeah, he went into the Masters with injury concerns. Obviously, he had a late schedule up until then, and he was sitting at about 29 on the exchanges that week, and now we're seeing about 27, only about 2 points shorter. But since then, obviously, he finished 8th at the Masters, which incidentally was his 12th top 20 on the trot in major championships. It's an incredible number, unbelievable consistency. And then after that, he was 8th at Harbour Town, another course which doesn't necessarily suit him. It's not a very driver-heavy golf course. And then 11th last week at the Truist. He was 12th off the tee on Saturday, 3rd round last week, and then 1st off the tee on Sunday. And that's slightly been the concern since his comeback, that his game off the tee hasn't just been quite on point. But as I say, 12th on Saturday and 1st on Sunday is, a really a real good positive heading into this week, and he putted really well last week as well. So more or less for me, it's a price. We're getting slightly shorter price than what we were getting at the Masters, and he's had 3 good finishes in the trot. He's a defending champion, and I think it's a perfect golf course for him too. So yeah, I just can't leave him off.
Xander Schauffele there, 20-1, second selection for Niall. 2 point each way for Bryson and for you, but you've got a player, Joe, that you're staking a bit more on, 2.5 points each way, and that is Justin Thomas, who's 18-1.
Yeah, very much so. We're on number 5, 16-time PGA Tour winner. I've probably been Justin Thomas's harshest critic over the last 12 months, maybe even a little bit more. Especially even more so when he sort of bottled the Valspar this year. He finished bogey, par bogey to miss out by 1 when Victor Hovland sort of snatched the victory from him. But to be fair, he has been absolutely superb since then. I thought that may be a little bit of a downfall, the fact that he lost the tournament, which he was so close to winning. But he's got 6 top tens this year, including a win since in the RBC Heritage. And he's got 3 runner-up efforts to go with that as well. He just looks absolutely dialed in. I've made a case about his game that over the last 2 years, he's been playing really well rounds 1, 2, and 3. And then when he almost becomes overconfident in the final round, he has been swinging too fast, losing his ball striking, basically not finding a way to score. But he looks much more in control of his golf swing now in the latter stages of these tournaments. His attributes do suit this golf course quite well too. He's plenty long off the tee. He's quite accurate as well. And the fact he's now striking the ball so well is what has managed to bring that consistency back into his game. He's 3rd strokes gained in total. He's improved his putting. There's a lot to like about his game this week. I really enjoyed the way he finished out his tournament last week as well in the Truist Championship too. I think at the moment, Justin Thomas is the most consistent player on the PGA Tour. I also think he's playing the best golf that he's been playing since the last 2.5 years as well. So I think outside of the front few, I think Justin Thomas has to be my number 1 selection for this week.
JT, yeah, he's, as I say, 18-1 with PricedUp. The headline selection, 2.5 points each way there from Joe. Niall, next on the list for you, we'll rattle off a couple. They often come hand in hand. People talk about them together. Victor Hovland and Ludvig Åberg making up the next 2 selections for you. Åberg is 25-1 with PricedUp, and Hovland 50-1.
If listeners take a selection here and there from whatever tipsters are listening to, you got to listen to this. Victor Hovland is the bet of the week, George, without a doubt. For me. Without a doubt, he won just 6 weeks ago. Obviously, just pipping Justin Thomas, and then he went to the Masters. He was 21st there. After that, 13th at Harbour Town, which doesn't exactly suit him. He likes to open his shoulders and give it a whack off the tee. He was down the field last week, but he was 14th on approach. His iron play was good. This is a 9-time winner on the PGA Tour since the year 2020. And he has been 2nd and 3rd in the last 2 PGA Championships. These courses are absolutely ideal for Hovland. He has got problems every now and again with short game. So you would often think he's probably not going to win the Masters. But yet he performed well there again. And his performances with his short game in major championships is remarkably consistent compared to some of the other just run-of-the-mill PGA Tour events. So I'm absolutely amazed that you're getting a bigger price this week than what you were for the Masters just 4 weeks ago. So yeah, he's the bet of the week for me, and I'm really excited about it.
Love that. Yeah, 50-1 bet of the week for Niall. So we've got the biggest bet for Joe is JT, and for Niall it's Victor Hovland. And how about Ludvig Åberg?
Yeah, again, 25-1 this week. I wasn't expecting him to be on my staking plan until the prices really materialised over the last 24 hours. I was surprised to see 25-1, and I just can't turn it down. For a golfer who I don't think is going to go much longer without winning a major, I just think the price is absolutely excellent. It has to be said that he's not playing as well this time around than what he has been over, say, in 2024. His numbers definitely aren't as good, but he has got a win under his belt already this season. He won at Torrey Pines, which I think, as far as composite courses go, it's one worth looking to. It's a really long setup every single time you go there, same as Quail Hollow. He's had a 12th at Pinehurst, and obviously 2 great performances at his 2 Masters appearances, 2nd and 7th there. He wasn't great again last week, but he was 3rd off the tee, so he's hitting the ball well off the tee, as he always does. He's just one of the best drivers of the golf ball in the field. And if any small improvement with his iron play, he could be a major factor this week. And as I say, more of the price than anything, 25-1, just I can't leave him off the list.
Yeah, 25-1 Åberg there, Niall's 4th selection. So we got one more from you each before we look into the sub-markets. I know Joe's got a couple of bits ready for us there. But finally, a player that I think you put up as well for the Masters and who performed really well, Tyrrell Hatton who 1.5 points each way. The selection here, Hatton, is currently priced up 50 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, this is a player I just cannot get away from George, and I'm probably going to be backing him all year long, to be honest with you, until we get that next swing under the belt. But I think he's one of the most underrated golfers on the planet. A lot of people get put off by the fact that he has rage issues, shall we say. But he actually channels this really well. I went back and had a look at the Masters. He bogeyed 3, got angry, birdied 4. He bogeyed 7, got angry, birdied 8. He got angry, birdied 12, and then birdied 13. So he actually channels this quite well. I have no problem with his mental attitude. He's a seriously, seriously good putter. And similar to Bryson DeChambeau, really, the way he plays golf enables him to score well at a variety of different golf courses. His driving and his iron play are absolutely unreal with regards to consistency of the shot shape. Doesn't deviate too far offline. For instance, like a Wyndham Clark who's hitting a big 20, 30 yard left to right fade. This is a very minimal 5-yard left to right fade, and it's enabled him to be really consistent and finish in the top 10 in all 4 of the majors. He is pretty consistent through the bag as well. And the fact that he keeps his shot shape nice and minimal, it just enables him to limit the damage as well. He doesn't flirt with too much danger. And again, the fact that he's a really consistent ball striker enables him to play better golf more often than not. Again, this is a 50 to 1 shot who, for me, is being dangerously underestimated. He should be 25 to 1 or shorter in my book. Certainly on the claims of his ability this year. Been playing really well on the live circuit as well. There's just a lot to like about Tyrrell Hatton. Similar to the reasons really why Niall is liking Viktor Hovland. Again, similar attributes with regards to likeness of golf course. And the price is just too much to leave out. So 50 to 1, Tyrrell Hatton, he makes the squad again.
Tyrrell Hatton, yeah, 50 to 1 priced up. The final selection from Joe. And Niall, you've got one at a big price.
Yeah, Sam Stevens. I backed him at Torrey Pines earlier on in the year, and it caused absolute heartbreak for me. I had him at triple figures there, and he was in the lead in the 72nd hole before dumping it in the water in the last. But I was really, really impressed with how he played that Sunday. And he just done everything really easy. And even though he hasn't got a win on the PGA Tour yet, I think if he gets into contention again, I don't think we've got a need to worry about how he's going to react to that. And I think he's going to cope really well. He was third just a couple of weeks ago at the Barron Nelson, then 23rd last week. He's only played in 3 major championships across the US Open and the PGA, and he's made the cut in all 3. He's made the cut in 1 appearance here at Quail Hollow as well. So, yeah, I just think there's big triple fancy figure prices about him. And as I say, I was just really impressed by the way. He hasn't played his best since Torrey Pines, but there's definitely been an upturn again in the last couple of weeks. So he's one of the outsiders I think could go well.
Yeah, 225 to 1 about Sam Stevens. So big price selection there from Niall to finish off his players. So I'll quickly run through both of your selections now. We have Niall's 5, Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele, Viktor Hovland, Ludvig Oberg, and Sam Stevens. And then we've got Bryson DeChambeau, Justin Thomas, and Tyrrell Hatton for Joe. So they're the headline selections. But Joe, I know you've got a Trixie for us amongst the sub-markets.
Yes, in the top nationalities market, I've found 3 players which I think could be of some value for this week. We'll start off by taking a look at the top African market. I fancy Erik van Rooyen at 18 to 5. Now, he's coming up against Bezidno, Higo, Dion Burmester, who are pretty decent golfers, but I like what Erik van Rooyen's been doing in recent weeks. Ball striking's been really good, and he's a player that typically plays well at much more difficult courses. When they seem to be quite easy courses, he seems to actually start to struggle. But again, I want a good ball striker who handles conditions. I think Erik van Rooyen at 18 to 5 is one. We'll then go to the top rest of the world, and I like Matsuyama, again, a really good ball striker here at 15 to 2. He is coming up against the likes of Neiman and Connors. Neiman's a player that I really, really like, but he's had a really difficult time in majors. He's only had 1 top 20 in the majors in 23 appearances. So that's a little bit of a concern for me. And I don't like Corey Connors' game for this golf course, where I did when we had it for the Masters. So Matsuyama at 15 to 2 looks really good value for me. And then the top Nordic player, I'm sorry, Niall. I've been with Ludvig and Victor all season long, but I do like Rasmus Højgaard here at 10-1. Again, a real ball striker's course. He's been playing some good golf this season too, and he actually plays really good on these sort of American golf courses that are very US Open based. Long, tight courses is generally been where he's had his best performances in America. So he's going to make up the Trixie. So we've got Erik van Rooyen as the top African at 18-5. Top Nordic, Rasmus Højgaard at 10-1, and then top rest of the world at Matsuyama at 15-2. So that's 3 doubles and a treble, and hopefully we can get a nice little return from those as well.
Great stuff. Niall's hoping that will not win. Niall, what about you? Anything else for you that you've seen across other markets?
Well, Joe's apologising to me there, but I'm going to have to apologise to him because I'm coming back with a rival in the top South African market. I actually quite like Dean Burmester. I'm surprised he's as big as 23-10. I think second favourite in this market is Christian Bezuidenhout. I think he's really going to struggle. He doesn't have the length off the tee. You really do need to hit the ball far. Van Rooyen obviously hits the ball further than Bezuidenhout, so I think he's got a better chance there. But the thing that worries me about Van Rooyen is that his last 10 major championships, he's only made 2 cuts, and his best finish out of them has been 53rd. And as far as Hegel goes, I can't believe he's that short in this market. You've got a couple of outsiders, Van Tonder and Lawrence, who actually could get into the mix here. But I think Burmester's on a different level here. And I'd have him much shorter. I think he's got a better record in big events. And I just think I'm surprised at the 23-10. So, Joe rivals me in a top Nordic market, but I'm going for the 5 in the South African.
We'll go with the cross doubles. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal, I'm sure. There we go, guys. Thank you both so much for joining me for this Punting Green episode with PricedUp previewing the USPGA. It should be a brilliant week. Loads of selections of bets put up by both of you. And fingers crossed for a profitable week. Thank you for taking the time to watch this show. There'll be a new Punting Green out next week with myself and Joe. So keep your eyes peeled for that and subscribe to Oddschecker's YouTube channel where you can find all of these shows. And make sure, as I say, you sign up to PricedUp and get an account there. And plenty of stuff across different sports. And if you go to the Price Boost page, you'll find lots of price boosts across sport there too. Cheers, Niall. Cheers, Joe.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks for watching, and please ensure that you're gambling responsibly.